Hello everyone, this is Big Benedict. This video will be the fourth video, and after this one we'll actually start, we'll be going to the main objective, but for now I want to take in the grandeur that is this city and do any brawls that I might encounter along the way, and then do a couple of the crimes in progress. Those a series of words you might notice from the title, and you see the crime in progress right there? You don't have to do that, but I decided to do it since it's on the way of our main objective, which is the exclamation point in the hexagonal icon on top of the map. So I like this game because it has waypoints. So a brawl down here. So get your kick on, get your hit on, and always. This game has... These games are hard, I gotta say that, and I don't think this game's combat is any different than the previous game, because I always screw up on the combat. It's hard to get into the rhythm of these fights, and I'm not a pro at this game too, so the thing about the combat is that I'm realizing that it's the same as in the previous two installments, because I was thinking to myself, like, What am I doing wrong here that I'm having to restart the checkpoint so often? Because I'm not dying on these fights, but I'm not performing well, and I'm embarrassed to put that in a public forum like YouTube, because I want to look competent when I'm doing these fights. But the thing was, I always struggle on all the fights on all the games, so it's not like this combat is any poorer than the other installments. Not that I can notice. I mean, I honestly don't know if they've taken the direct code for this game and they've just copy and pasted it, because that's what I would assume they did. But they probably tweaked some things that I don't know in the code. But it still feels the same, and it's as challenging and as fun as ever. Now you're going to notice quite a lot of edits over here, but I tried to put all the clips in as seamless as an order as I possibly could. So the first crime of progress is right over here. It's in 51 meters, and it takes place on this bridge. Now, some of the times you'll do most of the battle. It's just like in The Last of Us, where you complete, like, you finish like most of the fucking battle, and then what they do is they checkpoint you at a really weird location, and then like you'll come back to this location, and then like 10 of the 15 guys are on the ground dead. And then you just need to clean up the rest of them, and that just doesn't work for a guide maker. You can't have any continuity like that. So what you have to do, if you're making a guide, you have to restart from the checkpoint, and then it will, even if you've cleared these enemies, like if I die, see, something happened over here before I did this take. So I had killed most of these guys. And then it checkpointed me on one of the upper towers of this bridge, and I was just sitting there. And then when I flew back down here, all the guys were killed except like 5. So when I pressed restart from the checkpoint, then it had me in a different location, and all the guys were still alive, which I wanted. I don't want to be checkpointed midway through a fucking fight. It's annoying, and it ruins the guide. And since this game auto checkpoints too, I'm going to have to make sure that my Fraps program is working at all times, and if it's not, I'm going to be losing parts of this game, so it's going to be really frustrating, and I'm not going to be, I refuse to go back, so let's hope that doesn't happen. But as we're making our way over here, this is not a crime of progress, it's just another brawl in the same area where we were fighting the other one. So I also turned on the Fraps setting to have the FPS. It doesn't display on the screen, but it displays on my screen when I had this fight going, and it was a constant 60 frames a second. So I was thinking to myself, that's wonderful. We need games at 60 frames a second, especially a game like this. But then I was thinking to myself, maybe the loading times, maybe they had to compensate for the frame rate by having longer loading times, and maybe that's been the case throughout all these games. And if that's so, I'll tolerate those loading times for a nice frame rate. I mean, the PS3 is at its pretty much end. I mean, we've got some really good titles coming out. We've got Lord of the Shadow 2 coming out next year. But we have to realize that this hardware is really outdated by now. So to have it at 60 frames is pretty reasonable, and it's just kind of madness to expect that there wouldn't be a lot of loading screens. But I mean, you still get mad. I still get pissed off when I have to wait too long, you know. But I can assure you. Oh, and by the way, before I mention it, you can do the it's called the quick. I think it's called like a quick grapple, where when you're grappling, you press the X button and then you hold the X button afterwards, and then he'll go faster, and then he'll fly up over the railing and continue flying. It's really good. They started doing that in the second game. So I believe this is another crime in progress right here. And in this venue, there's 2 locations where fights can be found. So just really weave your way. I personally find that the harder fights, fights become their hardest when like all the enemies are in a cluster and you're constantly having to counter attack enemies and just really getting out of the groove of it. So anytime you could space the enemies out, either by having it just that way, by no design of your own, or just by jumping over the enemies, because that is an alternative to countering, and you won't get hit most of the time. I've gotten hit some of the times by that, but you can, instead of pressing the triangle button to counter, you can just jump over them. Now, I've tried to cape stun enemies that had the counter attack icon over their heads, and they still damaged me sometimes. So it's just one of those things. If I've seen people doing no upgrade runs, not no upgrade runs, but no damage guides for this game, and that would just be really frustrating. But there are people that want to do that, and that's fine. I respect that. So I leveled up right here. I also leveled up in the Batcave too. What I leveled up were these close combat upgrades. So this first one's already going to be purchased. So I purchased the combat armor V1.0 and then V2.0. So that's what I bought. And then after I get out of this menu, there's going to be a little edit over here somewhere. And then we're going to be engaging in another fight. Okay, so I think I lost my way over here. But no worries. There is a crime in progress. That's why I wanted to go back over here. So this is the crime of progress number 2, and there's probably a lot more in this game. Crimes in progress. So I'll label those appropriately in my titles for this guide. But we have a couple of heavy hitters right here, some body armor guys, 2 of them in fact. So if they're stunned, that's really opportune for you, because then you can go back and take care of anybody else who might need to be permanently subdued with the L2 plus triangle attack. Obviously, if the enemies are far away, then you could just punch the shit out of those guys and then come back and deal with whomever you really need to. See, like now was a great opportunity. I was swiveling the camera around me to make sure that guy wasn't coming up on me, but of course he did it. But you take what you can in this game and you strive to get better. That's all you can do. And anyway, that's the goal. Our immediate goal for the waypoint is across this bridge, and we'll be going and trying to fix these relays. And this is called the Jezebel Plaza. So that was the immediate goal. I'll see you in the next video.